Uh, Hi everyone. Today I'll be so with me today is Lalit and Anita, and I'm trying to help them understand a topic called CSRF, which is a security vulnerability. Hi Lalit and Anita.
Hi, Vishwas.
Hi. Uh, so before starting the video, I'll quickly try to explain you what what I'll be presenting in the video. The topic for today is CSRF, which is a security vulnerability. We firstly will go through the definition of it. One, then I'll demo you a piece of code which is vulnerable to this CSRF, whatever vulnerability, security vulnerability that is there. I'll like walk you through what is it and everything. Then we'll try to secure the code, and finally we'll have a recap. And then in between, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop, and then we can take that questions. Uh, okay, so firstly, the definition. CSRF's full form is cross site request forgery, and it is a type of security vulnerability where an attacker tricks the user into performing some actions on the web application. Web application could be anything, let's say Amazon.in or any website that you can think of, right? And without their consent, it tries to take some actions on that. 1 minute. Okay. Uh, that's about CSRF. Like if you are not able to follow it, once I'll demo, we'll come back to this definition again. Now, firstly, the demo of a code or a piece of web application which is running, which is vulnerable to CSRF. It has, it's written in Node.js, all right, using Express, and it has three functionalities to start with. One is the login. Like a user comes in, we have user presents its username and password, all right, and once it does that, we will quickly just log in, and then
Can't
I'll
see your screen at all.
okay. Yes, is it visible now?
Yes.
Okay. Though so first the three functionalities that I'm talking about. The first one is login, wherein user comes in, provide username and password. It tries to log in. I'll just quickly log in and then explain you the next one. Providing the correct username password. It in the network tab you could see. So we try to login, right? It's a post call wherein you provide username and password, and then if you see in the response headers, it provides you a session token. This session token is a token which is provided by the backend server, and now in all the subsequent calls that you make, you will have to pass this. Only then you are authenticated, and then now this is being stored as a cookie. So if you come here and then see your cookies, right, there is one cookie which is present. This cookie is actually just session token equal to this value. Okay, moving on. The next feature which is there is to transfer money. So that's like a bank application wherein from your account we need to transfer it to someone's account whose name is mentioned here, and then the amount. Let's say we are trying to transfer some money to Anita. I'm not sure if she deserves, but then anyways, uh, this is the second functionality, which is what we are doing. All right. uh, if you could see, the second one was like once you log in, we provided, there's an API that we called localhost 3000 slash transfer, which returned us the HTML, the page that you see, right? The header, then the form which is there, account input label, two labels which are there, account name, and then the amount. This is what we got. Just to show you code once, maybe this is the transfer API which is written in the backend. If you call localhost 3000 slash transfer, it is just going to return you this HTML. Moving on. Once you provide this information, the third thing that we are going to do is transfer, right? So we have transferred 1 lakh rupees in the account of Anita. Alright, this is the third API wherein we are calling a post API. In the payload, you see we are providing two parameters. And then one thing to note here is we are sending in the request headers, we are sending a cookie called session token equal to this. Okay, moving on. Now, how is this code vulnerable? The backend code that we have written. So there is another file that I've created called malicious.html. Alright, what it does is, I'll quickly just open it once. Malicious HTML. Okay. So what happens is, let's say you get an email, right? Wherein you see, let's say, uh, you have just won a jackpot and you can just click on this link, and then to claim the prize just click on this link, right? That could be one way. You get an email, or by some means you come to this uh, website that is being created, right? One, uh, if you visit this page and then let's say you click on this, what will happen? Before clicking on, I'll just explain you the code here. What it does is, it sorry, 1 minute, I will just refresh this once. Okay, so what happens is, it once you click it, it calls the localhost transfer API, 3000 port, the server that is running the transfer API post, with the parameters as this, the dummy parameters, and then amount. Last time we saw it in this, the third API was a post call, wherein we actually transferred money in Anita's account. So here, once you click on this image, the money will be transferred. Money into that malicious account owner's details, which is this account number, and this is the amount that we transferred. Now, how do we secure it? The second part of the video, I have I'm running another server on localhost 3001, uh, which is a secured server. Here, firstly, what I'm trying to do is, we are passing the username and password to log in. This will give us another one. Then we call another API called localhost 3001 slash transfer get API, which will give us the form which is there. Now this form has the header transfer money and then two other fields. Then there is another hidden field which is present, and the name of that is CSRF, and there is a token value which is being that we got. Now in this, the secured server that we have created, it in the all the state changing operations, it expects another token called CSRF, which will be validated in each of the request. Now if I, let's say, transfer some money to, let's say, Lalit, this in this 99 rupees is, let's say, transfer to Lalit. If you see in the headers, sorry, in the payload, we have provided another key called CSRF, and then of course the account name and amount, and then backend actually tries to validate that, only then it will be able to transfer it will be able to perform the actual business logic. Now let's say I open the malicious file again and then show you the malicious file, right? It should be, now that if we try to transfer, it will fail, because this malicious file, right, it only knows for a fact that what all information it, once you submit it, only needs to provide information of that account and then the amount, right? No other information it is aware of. Now if it tries to do that, will get an error saying invalid CSRF token. The reason being, in the request we did not pass that CSRF token, which we did when we actually implement, like pass through the actual flow. How have we implemented that? One, as you see, right, this is the secured server. In the get call, we are fetching this input, the hidden field CSRF. That's one. There are multiple ways to even fetch this. There could be a separate API for CSRF token, which could be stored in the actual front end server code as well. Alright, the website that is there, and then it could be stored in their local memory, which could be passed in the subsequent calls. This is one way of doing it. In the form itself, we are getting this, and then in all the calls, while trying to submit this, we will pass the CSRF token. Then we have this protection enabled. So every time when a request comes in, the backend server will try to validate this request, only then it will move forward. Then I think this concludes. Now moving, just recapping this, I'll quickly just explain you, I'll reiterate this definition and then we'll see if you are able to understand. CSRF is cross-site. Cross-site, as you understand, there are multiple websites involved. Request forgery, because the request that is being sent is forged. Another the attacker actually uses your identity to call the backend server and says that you are calling it, the original owner, and then uh, actually does some noisy stuff. Uh, it is a type of security vulnerability where an attacker tricks a user into performing actions on a web application in which they are authenticated without their consent. I hope this clears. So, what all steps that we did? Firstly, the user authenticated, providing their username and password, getting that session token that is being stored in the cookie. Then a malicious action wherein you received a link via some email and you clicked on it. Once you clicked on it and you provided, let's say in our case you clicked on that image wherein you submitted that request, since you are already authenticated, that session token was being sent to the backend server that authenticates that actually you, yes, that you are the one who's calling by checking that session token validity, and then whatever information, the account name or the amount in our case that was passed, it transferred and does the business logic. uh, yeah, that concludes. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, otherwise we can conclude this session. All right, thank you.